Hi guys, it's Brian with Pi Records, and I'm here with Yebo and Nelna from the Tremolo Beer Gut. How are you guys, all the way from Denmark?
We're doing just fine.
Yep, not too shabby.
So I want to talk about the music first of all. How did you guys get together, and basically, what were your influences? What sparked the band to get together?
Yeah, maybe I should kind of start to answer that. Well, first of all, Nell and I are brothers, so we've known each other for a long time, and we used to play together. Well, you know, straight out of high school, we formed a band. And we also formed a record label called Crunchy Frog Records that is releasing the Tremolo Beer Gut right now, but started out in the 90s releasing noise rock. We were kind of like noise rock fans, and, you know, lo-fi bands like Pavement and Sonic Youth and Pixies, Dinosaur Jr., stuff like that was really, you know, up our alley, and more experimental, weird stuff like The Residents and Butthole Surfers and Tom Waits and stuff like that. So really, that was our kind of focus as a label at that point, and we also, that were the type of bands we played in. So the whole idea for this band was, I actually, you know, it was, Nalna was originally the producer and live engineer for the band, but the band was formed with myself and a guy called Sune, who later went on and formed the Ravenettes, and he moved to the States. Oh, you know the Ravenettes?
I love them. I love them.
Fantastic band, and Sune and I, we played in a quite popular band, kind of in the grunge era, band called Psyched Up Janice here in Denmark, and we, while touring with that band, we kind of made up this band, the Tremolo Beer Gut, and we recorded 2 songs each. We did demos, and then we kind of thought we're gonna start this band as kind of like a hobby. We're gonna make a band that's gonna be fun to play in. It's gonna be, we're not gonna rehearse a lot. Gonna have fun on stage. We'll write music that we can actually play even if we're kind of tipsy or even drunk. And we're not gonna be singing, because he was singing in the Psyched Up Janice. I was doing backing vocals. I was singing in other bands, and so the idea was just like we keep our fat traps shut. And then we play some enjoyable surf rock, and we drafted Yingo, who I used to play in a band in his old band called Trains and Boats and Planes. And have great guitar sound, and basically a great sound and a great stage presence. And then as the bass player, Sune, he said, we have to have a Swedish guy because the rest of us are Danish. So he said, the Swedes are much better at garage rock and stuff like that than Danes. So the only one we really knew was Per, who actually was in a band, really great band called X-Stone, which was kind of like the proto sweet pop band that inspired people like the Cardigans and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And he immediately said yes. And then we started playing live with Nalna as the sound engineer. And because Per has this really cool vintage studio in Malmö, Sweden, just next to Copenhagen, Denmark. Those cities are very close to each other. He had called Tambourine Studios, where famously the Cardigans have recorded kind of 90% of their stuff, which is super retro and analog, and kind of all the whole vibe that the Tremolo Beer Gut has. Just that fit together perfectly. And then Nalna was producing the first 2 albums, and that's how the band got started, basically as a place to have fun, and especially live. So that was a long-winded answer, but that's how we started out.
That's perfect. Now, what sort of sounds are you going for when you produce the band? It sounds very. I want to say it sounds very powerful, but kind of like trudging. Um, where do you get your inspiration from when you're producing?
Oh, well, from the get-go, it was just very, as Jeppe said, everything has to be fun and everything has to look good. So we actually started out by saying we can only use mics that looks great, which sounds perhaps kind of crazy, but often it tends to be like that good techniques often looks great as well. So actually the first record was recorded only in 57s and 421s,
Oh, okay.
which is really standard mics, but well and proved. So and then recorded directly to tape. So the first two records we actually mixed directly through two LA4 URI compressors and directly to tape.
And he's
That was,
taking a bit of a break. So I'll say, okay, now you froze up there.
oh,
Yeah, so kind of using that old school equipment, kind of, and going for a vintage sound and not really, and actually wanting a bit of a rough sound, I guess,
Yeah.
is something that we've always been interested in, and not being very polished, maybe because of our background as kind of in noise rock and in kind of like, well, slacker rock and stuff like that. I mean, even bands that would be able to achieve a very nice and high fidelity sound, and I think we're fairly good players, but we're not interested in kind of either showing off sonically or as players, because it's all about the music. I mean, the tone, as you say, it's kind of I mean, there's a rough side to the band that is not really straight surf, but it's more inspired by garage rock and those kind of influences. But I think it's this kind of. I remember doing interviews in the beginning of the band where we kind of admitted immediately that we're not so inspired of surf bands, but maybe more like surf influences in other bands, kind of like that, just kind of the surf vibe that permeates other genres that you find maybe in a band like the Pixies have a strong surf vibe in some of their songs, and we're basically more inspired by that than the old surf bands. So we kind of discovered all the old stuff after just forming a surf band or whatever. Maybe we're not a surf band, I don't know.
and that's when Jeppe froze.
Am I frozen?
No.
Okay.
It's interesting that you mention. First of all, the Pixies are one of my favorite bands, and it's where I got a lot of my surf inspiration. When I like the way I play my guitar is directly influenced by Black Francis. So I totally see the connection. He could have been a great surf guitarist, but he chose to incorporate that in their sound. I thought that was great. And when you said that, it's the first time I've heard somebody reference the Pixies, so I'm very happy about that.
Well, we're definitely kindred spirits. I mean, Pixies is way up there. I mean, it's maybe my favorite band of all time, actually. And a funny story. Once on Facebook, I saw, that Charles Thompson, Black Francis was.
Yeah.
Oh, he's there. I kind of I tried to put a friend request, and he said yes, and then I started communicating with him, and then I was just it blew my mind that he would that I was communicating with him. So I'm a real huge fan, as is Nalna, as is Per and Ingo. I mean, it's a huge band for us.
And what do you think of their new bass player?
Of the new bass player in Pixies?
Yeah.
I mean, since when?
I think Kim left like 10 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, but they had two since, right?
Yeah.
Two different bass players.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just saying that the one I'm sorry I don't know her name, but that's also singing on one of the new singles. I mean, she sounds good. I'm not sure which. Last time Pixies played in Denmark is probably like what, now 3-4 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure which bass player that was, but she did a fine job.
Good.
The most recent bass player, Thor, and the manager and a colleague at Crunchy Frog and I went to a Pixies show actually in San Francisco or Palo Alto, and that was the current bass player, and she's really great.
Awesome.
But it's hard to fill the shoes of Kim Deal, though. I mean, especially vocally, Kim Deal's voice is just amazing, and it's got her own kind of like, sound and delivery. That's hard to match. But I mean, don't have to match. She's just doing her own thing, the new one. So
I imagine the pressure's pretty heavy when Gigantic comes up.
Oh yeah.
But I can't wait to look up some of their live stuff since they got that new bass player. But I want to talk about Crunchy Frog. And that's your label. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, we founded the label in 1994, to basically release our first record in a band called Thou. We were not very interested in being released on other Danish labels because we thought there was only one great label in Denmark called Cloudland Records, and they were about to kind of more or less dismantle the label, but two of the guys from that label had a distribution company, and they said, we like your music, and if you want to make a label, we will distribute you, and we will tell you how to make a label, basically, and give you mailing lists and stuff like that. And that's how we set out in '94, releasing our own stuff, a couple of records, then started signing other like-minded experimental noisy bands from Copenhagen, and then through the years we've branched out to some more pop stuff, also some straight up kind of Americana and retro stuff like the Tremolo Beer Gut, Power Solo, and other bands like that. So the noise rock vibe, the kind of like indie rock vibe, and the more pop, still very quirky indie pop vibe is another strain, and then there's the kind of more retro oriented strain, which, as you know, the Ravenettes kind of fuse the retro with the noisiness. I think even Tremolo, we have. Well, it's not like noise rock or anything, but it's gritty.
Yeah, but
at least.
Exactly. I love some of the slow grinding songs you have. It's kind of like
Thanks.
it's still very powerful. Speed is not always power, but the slow grinding, I was instantly drawn to that.
Thanks. It's an interesting point because we never really thought about that we were playing particularly slow, but when we started playing gigs with surf bands or at surf festivals and stuff, then people were always saying, "You're playing so slow," and we're like, "Yeah, if you consider us a surf band, then we're playing very slowly." But we don't really see ourselves as a surf band per se. But of course, when you're playing at a surf festival, which we're very happy to do, and we have a lot of fun and have a lot of friends in the community, it's just like, yeah, we stand out because we're not really interested in speed. We have some fast songs, but it's kind of more sexy and dark and dangerous if you're playing with a kind of grinding beat that we like, and playing stuff that's not necessarily complicated, but just has great. I mean, that's hopefully we have great ideas, but it doesn't have to be complicated. We don't have to be like showing off our fantastic abilities. It's the music that really is a focus, and we kind of like it dark and sexy,
Another point on the live gigs is that we've always insisted to bring a sound guy for the shows, and especially when playing at surf festivals and stuff, where all surf bands sounds rather similar, but we really need our own sound to be out there. So we prefer to bring a sound guy, which a lot of surf bands don't. So from back when I did the sound, I also played some percussion and stuff, and our current sound guy as well plays some percussions behind the front of house to add to the experience.
Oh, that's very cool. So have you guys played the Surfer Joe Festival?
Yep.
Yeah.
We did it twice. I think in maybe 2015 and then 18 or 19. I'm not good with the with the when stuff happened, but yeah, twice, and that was a lot of fun.
Seeing all those people, it must like give you a huge rush.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, it's a great vibe. Have you been at Surfer Joe?
No, but I just spoke to Surfer Joe, and I was amazed at the stories he was telling. They're like, it's kind of like the Warp Tour is in America for punk rock on a bigger scale.
Yeah, I mean, Lorenzo, Surfer, aka Surfer Joe. He's great. He's such a passionate guy, and he's pulling. Well, first of all, he built this totally kind of like retro American diner on the beach of Livorno in Italy, and he also now has a spot in the city now, and then he's like pulling that off every year that he's pulling off, getting bands from all over Europe and the States and sometimes Mexico and Russia. He's just like picking what he thinks is the best, and also pretty varied. As Nalna said, I mean, no offense to old kind of like old school surf bands. A lot of them are really good, but they are a lot of them are playing standards and a lot of cover songs and kind of covering a lot of the same material. I mean, they're all different, and some have some really good both players and ideas and stuff, but I think something that that Lorenzo has been really great at is having some bands like us or the Boss Martians that we talked about I think before recording.
Yeah.
And what's this? The band that's kind of lighting everything on fire. What the name escapes me right now. But that's just like that. That's a great addition to what is basically a surf festival. But there's a lot of bands that just have surf elements that are doing other stuff. So he's keeping it really interesting, and he's doing an amazing job, I think. So you should go whenever it opens up again. We can go to Livorno.
So I have to ask, I know what a tremolo is, and I know what a beer gut is, but what's a Tremolo Beer Gut?
I guess it's a vibrating beer gut.
How did you guys?
It was just a stupid idea. Well, I mentioned before that the band was kind of made up between Sune and I on a tour bus in that our old band Psyched Up Janice, and we basically kind of got just like shooting the breeze and talking about how it would be great to form a band playing, surf inspired stuff, and also like movie score inspirations from John Barry and Morricone and stuff like that. And it has to be like a kick-ass band. And we're kind of coming up with all these dogma about how we need to have a suite, and Sune immediately said, it has to be a 4-piece. It has to be standard, drums, bass, 2 guitars. We're coming up with all these ideas. Say, okay, what's the name of the band? And we just telling each other like stupid names. There was like the Chuck Norris 4 and the Musicians and whatever. I mean, idiotic names. And then I said, well, the Tremolo Beer Gut. How about that? It's got the tremolo. It's got the beer. I mean, and then he said, that's what we're called. And those kind of decisions are just made. Like we also, when we made our first single, we had this band photo made that we thought, oh, that looks so cool. We're gonna put it on the single. And when the single was out, we thought, that's so beautiful. We should never change the artwork from now on. So after that, we've always used the same picture. We have never taken another. We've never done another, press shot. Yeah. So all the records have the exact same photo on them. So it's just like changing other stuff around. So also that dogma, we also invented the dogma that we're not going to do any music videos. Yeah, that right there. That's a picture. We're not gonna. What else now? I mean, well, there's a thing about being able to, maybe something about playing slow as well. We should be able to play it even if we're pretty drunk.
And we do.
That's one of the dogma as well. What more? We have more rules.
Yeah, actually, on the name, the first time we played South by Southwest, we were voted as the best and the worst band name.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think we were on the top 10 in the Texas Statesman newspaper. We were on the top 10 on both on the best band names and the worst band names.
That's awesome. So, I since you mentioned the Ravenettes, I want to mention what it was like to work with Sune.
Well, that a lot of fun. I mean, it was. He was just. I mean, we formed the band together and kind of wrote kind of pretty much all the material. I mean, we're still writing individually. So I mean, on the first record, maybe I wrote 2/3 of the songs and he wrote 1/3 of the songs or something like that. But we just have the same. He was a huge part of forming the sound of the band and kind of all that. I mean, this thing about sticking to dogma and to like ideas that you get into your head and then saying we're doing that and we're not doing that. That is something that we kind of that he reinforced. You know, I mean, that's his type of personality as well. So so I mean, super easy working with him. And when he started the Ravenettes, that was also, of course, that was kind of, the Ravenettes was kind of informed of the work with Tremolo Beer Gut, again, saying, you know, it's going to be a boy, girl, black and white, and all those kind of ideas, recording only in, you know, in B minor and then making a B major record. And we put those two first records out on Crunchy Frog as well. And then when they got pretty popular and started touring all the time, I was playing the drums in another Crunchy Frog band called Junior Senior that was also touring all the time. So we had a couple of years where nothing much happened. And after that, Sune had gone and lived in the States. So Nalna just very organically kind of started playing, being the lead guitarist, because he already was playing on some of the records. And in fact, on that show that Nalna mentioned, the first time we played South by Southwest, Nalna was, well, originally the sound guy. You know, he's also a great guitarist, needless to say, but he was doing the sound at that point. So, but Yingo, the other guitarist in the band, couldn't make the show. So we had agreed that Nalna should just rehearse his parts and be part of it. But 2 days before the show was supposed to go down, Sune called us from Denmark and said, he used to have like a big fear of flying, and he was just like, I'm a nervous wreck. I can't go. I just can't go. And we're like, but we're already here. We're gonna play in 2 days. You're the lead guitarist in a surf band. It's kind of like Mick Jagger saying to the Stones that I'm not gonna be coming. So that was kind of Nalna's baptism fire, because he then all of a sudden was like, oh, I guess we have to play as a 3-piece. And now Nalna and Per has to just rehearse all the guitar parts, so that Nalna's playing the lead and Per's trying to play both the bass line and rhythm guitar at the same time. And in 2 days, we kind of created a set of songs that we could pull off. And then my job was just to be as active and as much as a showman as possible, because they're like, you know, just hanging on for dear life to play the songs. But it really worked out. And I mean, that was Nalna's first gig as a lead guitarist.
That's awesome, Nalna. What musicians inspire your guitar playing?
My guitar playing?
Yes.
Well, you know, decades of great music, basically, but definitely some of the bands that we talked about. But primarily, I didn't start to play guitar before, you know, when I was like 17, 18 years. So I wasn't really schooled, but we formed 2 bands and played a lot of noise rock. So basically that was my main inspiration. But basically when we started out playing retro stuff and surf stuff, I actually found that a lot of surf is quite easy to play in the manner that it's you know, it's in a schema, most of the stuff, and a lot of the stuff that we wrote and played beforehand was really difficult as a guitarist. So
very cool.
But I guess it's safe to say that Joey Santiago has been a huge influence, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And didn't you play? As I mentioned, we're brothers. So I mean, didn't you play a lot? I'm like, when you started out, didn't you play a lot of Jimi Hendrix stuff?
I rehearsed all kinds of stuff, but actually, I had some lessons for a period of time, and that was a lot of jazz, actually, a lot of jazz chords.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was
So
I was a
actually,
jazz
we had
player
a
in high
more
school.
experimental band. Yeah. We had a very experimental band,
Yep.
and I started, doing a lot of jazz chords with shitloads of distortion and fuzz, which basically formed a lot of that sound.
Yeah, in those days, I guess Mark Rebo
Mark Rebo,
was
Tom Waits guitars at that point.
an influence. Yeah. Of
Awesome.
course, I can't speak for you, Nelna, but I was there.
Yeah,
Okay,
but basically, I started playing guitar so late compared to when we started that. For a lot of years I just tried to hold on, and
Yeah. So you guys have a very great mix of music influences. And I love your sound, and I appreciate your time. Is there anything you'd like to add before we sign off?
Well, we think that people should buy our records, Pi Records.
it's actually a great idea, Yebo.
Pi Records will be stocking the Tremolo Beer Gut.
Yeah, and of course, as everybody else, we're just really looking forward to be touring again at some point, and we will be back in the States.
I would love to see you guys.
Yeah, we want to give a shout out to music recordings from LA and No Count Records in Seattle. Our friends Art and Evan and Eric, who's putting out the records in the States, which we're really excited about to finally have actually two fine labels pushing the Tremolo Beer Gut in the States. So that's a huge thing for us. So we will be back. It's probably going to be 2022 until we're back in the States, but we will
be back.
Very cool. Very good. Thank you so much, guys.
Well, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.